Dude here.
And Marky Z, and welcome to another awesome episode of the
Rockin House.
Today we have special guest, one of your good friends from years ago, professional musician, all the way from Reading, Pennsylvania, Nick Kile. He also has his own original stuff. Actually, just earlier working on with him.
Yeah, the title track is Cold Hard Hands, and
yes, correct.
He writes his own material. But
good stuff, yeah.
I'll tell you what, because there's a thriving music scene in Reading, Pennsylvania also.
So
we're kind of intertwined here with what goes on up there and what goes on down here in King of Prussia, Philadelphia area. So
nice.
About 10 years ago, Nick had a band called Flag, which we'd all remember.
Okay.
Just a dominating band, played in all the places. One of the I would say the most popular band 10 years ago.
Hometown Heroes, they call them. Hometown Heroes.
There's no question about it. Yeah. The band 10 years ago, Flagged.
Nice.
They came down here a few times, but I don't know if they were as appreciated as they should have. They came in with Marshall stacks, lighting rig, fog show. They were just like
They gave you the concert experience.
That's what they wanted to do.
And vocally, they were nailing it.
So when you went to see a Flag show, you were basically looking at a concert performance. I mean, they weren't lightweight at all. But down here in King of Prussia, I think they didn't know how to make it. It was loud. It was just, I thought it was a cool thing. So up in Reading for about 10 years, and what I found interesting was when they would book their shows for the year,
That's
every
awesome.
place,
that's pretty impressive.
Every place was scratching on their back to get at Flag, to book them at their bar, and they could put out the tour schedule with like 50 places right away on their tour schedule.
Beautiful.
That's unheard of. I mean, people are scrapping to chain 3 jobs together, right?
Yeah, man.
And what they did was their band Flag was hair metal.
Right, yep.
You know, your Motley Crue, your Bullet Boys.
Maiden, Priest, all that.
All that stuff. So, and Nick just had a way of singing like the hair band metal guys did. They were shredding up the shit. And, yeah.
Good stuff.
Flag was a memorable band, and when they came down here, I was hooked. So I always used to go up. It's 60 miles to go up one way. Who gives a shit? They were a great band.
See some good performance, right?
I go where the great music is, that's my take on Nick Kile. So he's just a genuine, nice human being. Besides the point, I won't waste my time with a bunch of idiots because in the music industry, there's a lot of idiots out there, and.
He's pro.
Nick's just a good friend besides being a stellar musician.
Yeah,
and absolutely. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, including his new material that he writes. So
absolutely.
I think it's time to bring Nick Kile onto the show.
Let's bring Nick Kile. Welcome to the Rockin House.
All right.
Welcome, brother. How's it going,
bro?
man?
Good to see you.
Down there, relax.
All right. Brian, good to see you.
Great to have you. Great to meet you. All right, man. Well, welcome to the Rockin House. As we're in season 3. I just got to meet you for the first time today, and I have to tell you, he is actually a professional killer musician. We were just jamming downstairs, and we got a little treat for you a little bit later on in the show. But Brian, let's talk about your connection with Nick Kile, and why you felt you want to bring him to the show to let people know what he's about and the level musician he is.
Well, Rock Dude always has a knack for knowing talent when I see it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. That's what draws me in. I'm the educated rock and roll guy. So when I seen their band for the first time, I'm like, holy smokes, man, this is really good. So the few times they played down here, local band scene, there's not a ton of money to be made. Everybody who plays in the scene knows that. So, so what I had to do for the lack of playing down here, I had to run up to Reading, and I had no problem doing that. So me and Nick became fast friends.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So not
stuff.
only did I get to see a really great band, but I got to see make a good friend is what I'm saying. So.
Absolutely.
And these guys have a lot in common because they're both metalheads by trade. So
I'll tell you what, Marky knows how to play some Black Sabbath and Dio, and he really nailed it first time as well. So
thank you, man. Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure to just jam with you. I never met you,
Total
but
pro.
it's just the chemistry was boom.
Absolutely.
Just right there. We just know what we're doing.
Rock and roll.
And he's been talking a big game about you and how awesome you are. To get booked like he said, he's right. That just doesn't happen.
Well,
And that's amazing. You guys are really like the hometown heroes, basically.
At that time, this would have been back in 2007, 2008.
Okay.
We, would book the shows, and usually around about August, we would start booking for the next year.
Right.
That's what he was talking. I was just mentioning
advanced.
Mentioned to Brian that for 2007, 2008, 2009, we would have the whole year booked. Like we would start booking it in August the previous year.
Nice.
And then by October, November, if you didn't have a flag date on your calendar, you couldn't get us for the next year. It was like we had a good
Gotta love that. Come on, man. You guys are like in
for
demand.
For about 3 or 4 years, we had a nice run, and we caught everybody by surprise because we pulled all the big gear out, and we kind of wanted to pattern ourselves after the regional bands, which we were trying to be like the better regional bands. That's how I met Brian. We turned it up and played like the good rock and roll.
Now, Nick, why don't you tell us who your original members in that flag band were?
Okay. Well, we had Steve Moyer Jr., who played guitar, and he was, my right-hand man with singing, and we did the arrangements, and you had Mike Garris on drums.
Nice.
Yeah, he did a great job, Mike. He's a very precise drummer. Great tempo, and solid. Workman. Excellent riffs as well. And then we had Ken Cleffel on bass guitar, and Ken was the secret weapon because
he was kind of the prototype bass player. He had the look, and he played the bass low.
Plays it the way I love it. The lower, the better.
Ken.
So he played well, looked good, and he just looked like he was a metal kind of bass player. That kind of thing. Where I would say.
Yeah, and he was really good, and but the whole unit, we had a lot of fun together, and we just wanted to play songs, with rock and roll integrity. We wanted to turn it up loud,
Absolutely.
have good sounds, and we had a lot of fun with people down in the area. We met Brian at the time, and
you want to do the songs authentic, almost to a tribute level. That's what it sounds like to me.
What I seen
great.
that happened with bands, you could be a fantastic playing band, highly proficient. But the thing is, if you don't have money behind your band, sometimes that's the sticking point, because to move your band forward, you have to have someone in the band who's able to do that, because some bands stay stagnant just because of the money issue.
Yeah.
Now, you had your guitar player was Moyer Subaru. So you could have some money thrown at you,
awesome.
a nicer trailer, and you could, that's what I saw. I mean, good talent needs to move ahead. You need a little bit of backing to move yourself ahead. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of bands who can't move ahead because they have no backing.
Yeah.
I would agree. Steve, he really
did his part. I mean,
he did so much. He did so much work, and you're right. With that extra, he was a really good musician. Aside from that, but he took on the work of, like he loved it that much to where, he bought a camper just for doing gigs and had the trailer, and he bought the piece.
And you look professional too at the same time, We
used to roll in, and that's right, it made a big difference. Steve, he had the camper, big trailer behind it.
Nice.
And so we would roll into wherever we were playing, whether it was a firehouse or wherever we were going.
You look like you were a national superstar coming into a small venue.
That's what I'm
what happened every time.
That's what it seemed like, because we would get together, and we were really enjoying it. So we would get together and we'd start the party before, and by the time we rolled into the bar, we were just very excited about everything. So
I love it, man. That's so cool.
What's the reality of it, Nick?
So
when you
cool.
have a camper, if you put a couple down, you can fall asleep in the camper.
That's right. And see, the thing is that when you have a few with your friends, and or even have a beer or two, at that time I had a camper, and I would stay in my camper.
And you didn't have to go right home.
Overnight at the bar. That's right. Yeah, I would stay in the camper and be in the parking lot. And at the time, because when the band was popular,
Yeah.
the bars filled. Sure, you want to sleep in the parking lot? No problem. I was like, yeah, and
Yep.
and
Once again, if you had a gig that was out of state or a further gig, it was not a problem with you guys because a lot of people
could
don't have
travel.
them kind of things going on.
that's
So
right, we did, yeah.
having that kind of capability can get you more work.
It actually, well, right, and it actually, at that time, those things that you mentioned, from the outside looking in, for us, we were working hard, just trying to put those things together. But when you mention about remind me of all those extra things, like with the Steve had the PA system, and he really supported the band as far as the infrastructure went.
It's awesome.
So that does make a huge difference.
But I know people who can't do it because they just don't have the finances. They're blue-collar people, and they just enjoy with the passion going out and playing. That's as far as they take it. And you got the other half that, want to smoke more weed out in the parking lot than they actually want to do the serious playing.
Right.
So you get this whole bag of things going on.
Yeah.
But I know people that are wealthy that just don't invest in their band. So why are you bothering? I mean,
Right.
so
Yep.
there's a lot of things that go on. You got, a lot of things. You got to put your head in the right place in order to get this to move forward. I mean,
Always.
um, so it's a whole mixed bag of what people are thinking out in the real music world. Because Rock Dude's been there and done that. So
Right.
what can I tell
That's
you?
how we met.
That's how we met.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to come back with the next step, talking about Nick here and how he became a musician. We didn't even find out how that even happened with you, but
Or who
we'll
your
let you
idols
know.
were. That's
Absolutely.
important. Nick.
And we'll be
Absolutely.
right back with that. Just go nowhere.
Thanks very much.
Kyle, Rockin, myself.
Now, we were talking about the band Flagged, one of Reading's top bands back about 10 years ago. So basically, Nick discovered, Rock Dude does photography, so let's collaborate on doing some advertising and stuff like that. So basically, right here is one of our collaborations, flag tour poster, and it's obvious what we were talking about. He could book all these gigs up front because they were so popular. So thumbs up to Nick for all that. So that's a collaboration that me and Nick put together.
Very cool,
back
man.
in at that time, right?
Brian, I'll tell you what, we really appreciate you coming around, and every time you came around, you took great pictures, always very gracious, and we loved having you around, and a great fellow rock and roller.
Well,
He's a rock dude.
A little bit of a rock
I wasn't,
and roller.
I still have, tons of music passion, whether I was a concert goer or music photographer or whatever. But,
Right.
it's about connecting with people. It's nice when you can bring someone like Nick back, and we don't have to talk every day because we're just like we seen each other yesterday and we didn't. But
Right.
that's the beauty of it. So,
We are friends like that.
yeah.
It's cool,
so,
man.
it's the
Call me anytime.
it's really the connection you make with the bands and stuff like that. He saw
That's
my
right.
vision. He saw that I was a photographer,
That's it.
and he wanted to get great work done, great photos done. So it takes a little thought and a little time put in because most people want photos, but they don't want to put the time in. And I got to be frank with people. That's annoying for me. You got to put. You want great shots. You got to put a little bit of time in. So that's one thing I appreciate about Nick. He hardworking. Any band project that he's in, he's one of the hardest working guys out there. He'll put the time in. So I appreciate that angle. So this all comes full circle. So this is a little gift from me to Nick. He'll take this home and hang it up.
Very cool,
Thanks
man.
so much. I really appreciate that.
And Nick, I'd like to talk about how things started for you. You know, we're going to rewind back a little bit.
Yeah.
How did things start for you as a musician? Like, you know, who's your guitar players or your favorite ones? You know, who's your favorite singers? What influenced you to do what you did with the band Flag?
Well, I'll tell you, the first influence I had was having my mom's classical Epiphone guitar laying around the house.
All right.
You know, we were from a typical 70s family.
Right.
Everyone had to play an instrument. You know, I think, you know, my little brothers, they played the trumpet. You know, I think I picked up the clarinet for a couple of...
Ran in the family.
Yeah, right. So it ran in the family.
I got it.
So didn't keep up with the clarinet so much. But yeah, I started playing the little classical acoustic that was laying around the house.
Right.
And I would listen to old Queen records.
I love Queen, dude. Yeah.
What a band to take notice to.
Oh, Kile,
Yeah.
dude. Come on.
Queen, and then really, when I first started listening to guitar, I listened to Jimi Hendrix. I remember Axis Bold as Love, that album. I listened to that.
Before his time, Jimi Hendrix.
Right, and then what Zeppelin.
Of course.
Remember the old Led Zeppelin complete book. You know.
I had it.
Yes.
How do you think I learned guitar?
Yeah. All right.
Led Zeppelin complete and the Doors complete.
With the
yeah.
You know, you had the
Yes.
the magazine with the little cloud and
Yes.
and so I went through and learned all of those, and that was before I had an electric guitar. So I had
acoustics.
I learned Stairway to Heaven was the first Led Zeppelin tune I learned, and I learned it just like the tablature.
Right.
Like the third finger here, you know.
I remember it well.
Not this one like this, but this one like this. You know.
And you got so excited when you learned them first 3 chords of that song. You were like, yeah.
It's rock and roll. It had me hooked from the beginning.
Yes.
And was it Smoke on the Water for you? That's like everybody says. Smoke on the Water,
the
right?
most played song in the world, right?
Smoke on the Water actually was the first song I ever learned. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
Now
I was just kidding, but yeah.
well,
Funny but true. Yeah.
it's true. There's
It's one of the most played songs ever in the world. That song. I believe. Guinness Book.
you know, so what a music store, a little music store.
So you
called-
started with your mother's Epiphone guitar,
Yeah,
you know.
mother's Epiphone guitar, and you know.
Was there any kind of mom and pop guitar stores? Because back in them days, that's all there was. There was no big corporate
No.
Sam Ashes around here, at least. You know, you had to go to New York City for that.
It was exactly the
Yeah.
mom and pop, a place called Garrel's Music
Okay.
in Schwenksville.
Schwanksville.
Right. Garrel's Music in Schwenksville. I got my first electric guitar. It was a Gibson SG.
Nice.
It was a 1972 SG. It was still the Norland. It had it wasn't the. It was a copy of the Iommi
Nice.
SG,
Yeah.
and it was the one with the tailpiece with the harp on it.
Yep.
You know, so that guitar, it's around somewhere. It's got a broken neck. I mean, I tried all the things, but yeah, you know, it started out there, and you know, the lessons at the music store, you know, were the old Mel Bay books. It was kind of like
Mel Bay way.
right. It was old school. So now this is the most.
I learned on it.
Right.
The Mel Bay
They
way.
used the Mel Bay for the
The
drumming
Mel
too.
Bay way, bro.
Right.
But the real difference was when I went to. Now you probably heard of George's music, right?
Of course.
George. Now that's.
Well, I can interject there because
Yeah,
back in the day, as you're saying, the mom and pop music stores, you would have had like DeFleece's music, you would have had Zaps, you would have
Zaps.
had medley
Up here, yeah,
music
yeah,
and
Top
down
10.
the main line. George's, which is the original George's, is still in Spring City. You can go there.
Yeah.
So that's a lost thing. The original mom and pop
Yeah,
guitar
definitely.
places. So Zaps, DeFleece, George's, medley, etc.
One of the
Right.
big ones down Philly.
And the one you
8th
said
Street.
that you would go to in Swanksville was, what was that called again?
Well, that was Garrel's Music. Now that's not even there anymore. But basically, I went from. I didn't. It was old school, so I had to find a new, more rock and roll
Right, yeah.
place. So I went to George's in Spring City.
Right.
And
Right.
and I.
Which
hooked up-
most people did.
Right. So Tom Volpicelli down there was a big influence, and he taught me lessons for several years, the modes. I got most of my early rock and roll playing from him, and then he sent me to Chuck Anderson in Conshohocken.
Okay.
So I was driving all the way from Collegeville, where I grew up, to Conshohocken Chuck Anderson for like 6 years.
Wow.
Taking jazz lessons and things.
Nice.
And you know, so I started out, you know, being a guy that was really interested in guitar, and then I wanted to be the best musician I could be, so I you know, went from the old school mom and pop store. I was there for a few months, and I was like, this.
Right.
And then went to George's, and then I taught at George's Music Chain.
Okay.
Like after I went to Chuck Anderson, learned some jazz, and then I became a teacher at George's.
Okay.
I taught at the George's Music Chain in North Wales and Spring City for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And I taught out of my house. I was very active in the 80s and early 90s,
Right.
you know, teaching. So I started out teaching, and then I developed my voice in the 80s.
Okay.
And because I couldn't, I started playing guitar, and nobody could ever sing, you know.
Well, yeah, it's always that problem.
So I had to learn how to, so I started learning how to sing, and when I first started learning how to sing, my friend said, put the mic away. Doesn't sound good, right? So, right. When you start
I feel, dude, it's like deja vu for all these things you're talking about, because I've been through all
So it
this. and I
sounds,
know
Nick,
what
like you're
talking
well
about.
connected with the Reading scene, and
Yeah.
since you were born and raised down here, they intertwine for you. So you got the best of both worlds. You know what's going on in Reading. You know what's
Yeah.
going on down here. You know, the Rib House and all these places. You know.
Yeah, it was great like that. I mean, you know, that's part of what happened. I think the reason why Flag got a great start is because, you know, the Reading music scene was very rich, and there's like a lot of great musicians, you know, that come from the Reading music scene. But at that time, I was coming from, I just moved to Reading in 2006.
Right.
So I moved to Reading. One of the reasons was I wanted to find, you know, musicians. Like I was looking at musicians grapevine, and the scene was at that time in the early 90s. There just wasn't as many, or no, it wasn't the 90s. It was the 2000s. Down where I was in Pottstown, there just wasn't as much. Like the bars weren't having rock bands anymore.
Okay.
So I decided to move up to Berks County.
Got it.
And I put out an ad in Musician Grapevine, and Steve. That's how Steve Moore and I met. Just serendipity. It's like he came over to my house one night, and we never. I didn't know anybody from Reading at all.
Wow.
And basically, he's like, it's like you sing like. I sing like the AC/DC style and stuff like this, and
metal,
metal type. And he, like, where did you come from? So I guess what ended up happening was when we put our band together, the rest of the guys in the band had been playing in Reading for about 20 years. They had, but then I was like the front man that nobody had ever heard of Reading, right?
Gotcha.
So it was like, where did this guy come from? That's
right.
So it was that's why for a couple of years I think we were popular, because like. Where the guy come from, and then after, you know, we become old hat.
Yep.
But we had a good run for a while, and the musicianship, you know, we had a great time. But that's really what, Brian, what you mentioned about going from Collegeville and to the Reading music scene. I think that really helped out a lot.
But you got to understand, Reading had the famous, when it was open, one of the premier, and we all remember it, the Silo.
The Silo.
Okay. I mean, all the big hair bands, all the national acts would go to the Silo. So that's one thing back in the day that Reading had going for itself, and, you know, performing arts theater and etc. So, and in the modern age, it became a big jazz town with the Berks Jazz Fest. So that exploded nationally. So every year in the month of March and April, they have the Berks Jazz Fest in the different hotels and stuff. They have rooms that they have the top jazz musicians. I mean, a guy we had, Nathan East, on the show, his four-play band plays at the Berks Jazz Fest. You know? Yeah. So Reading has a lot of things musically going for it, right?
It's a great place, and when, you know, when I moved up there was just, I mean, and even still today, there's lots of opportunities to play.
That's great.
You know, and no matter how old you are, I mean, it's really a great thing to see.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to come back with Nick, and he's going to talk about his original music and what's going on now with Nick Kile. Just a minute.
Kyle here to
back.
talk about his solo stuff now. I mean,
yeah.
you're a singer-songwriter. I know that too, Nick. So
sir.
we're supposed to film up at the beautiful on the mountain there where the pagoda is a Reading Day, but we opted because
Yeah,
we have bad
not
weather. I guess
happy,
we're
yeah.
getting the storm in from Florida.
Yeah.
Our
It's
thoughts
affecting
and
us.
prayers out to the people who didn't fare too well in Florida. So
Yep.
we're getting a little bit of the rain today. So
Definitely my prayers go out to my cousins there because they got no electric, no heat. It's real bad. I pray that everything works out for them.
Yes.
would have been cool filming up on the mountain there, but we're here today with Nick. So start it on out there, Nick, about your songwriting and stuff. I mean, Cold Hard Hands is what you call the single, I would say.
Yeah, that's a song that I wrote several years ago. About hardworking women and men doing the best they can, cold hard hands. So generally speaking, with the songwriting, you know, you get things. For me, I'll just get a theme coming to my head. You know, something I'm thinking about.
A riff.
A riff.
Right. Starts with the riff.
That first line of the song
Right.
reminds you of a theme, and then, you know, and that's how I do my writing.
Yep. Yep. I kind of write the stuff music-wise, and then the lyrics come after for me.
Now, when you write the
That
material, Nick, is it mostly on an acoustic guitar to get your inspiration to start the process out, or is it electric you like to use to do it, or both?
Well, you know, a lot of times the inspiration comes, you know, I might not even have a guitar in my hand. I'll be sitting thinking about something, and then that thought will strike me, and then the melody starts going in my head.
Yeah.
And then,
Yep,
and then I go pick up a guitar. It's usually acoustic.
Yep.
So the fact that you came to the Rockin' House, and I appreciate that. You and Marky have a lot to talk about just because you have solo projects going on.
Yeah. All right.
So that's one of the things, and then
Yeah, man.
you know we're gonna do a live segment. What you guys choose to do? Heaven and Hell is the tune.
Yeah.
Because Mark over there has a Dio tribute band. So
Night's Rain. Go check it out. We go
and
all
we
over
got
the
Nick
scene
here,
jamming.
who's highly proficient in metal music and tunes. So
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
good stuff. Yeah.
And we're actually going to do the song he's talking about.
Cold Hard Hands.
Our first time ever going to do that together. I just learned it today, and it's a beautiful song, and we're going to bring it to you on the Rockin' House exclusively.
Great job.
So you died and going to heaven here, Nick? I mean, seriously, man. Did you ever think you're going to be coming to the Rockin' House, man?
Well,
we had to extract you from Reading, man.
Well,
You know?
I've been wanting to come up and see you, but whether we were going to eat Chinese food or whatever we were going to be doing up here.
Well, I'm getting hungry. We're going to do something.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, but it's always a pleasure, Brian. I mean, we're good friends. I mean, from the time I met you, you know, you're a musical soul brother, right? And that's really what I love the most about you.
But I'll tell you what, man, I want to thank you for coming to the Rockin' House. A pleasure meeting you.
Thanks so much, Marky. It's a pleasure, and you're doing a great job with the jam. I can't wait till we come back for that next
Yes,
segment.
we will. And it's Marky Z and Rock Dude.
Set